Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Arden, and today we're reviewing Batman number 99. Karsten, Manchi Man, Adrian, Benningfield, Demon Lord, Raphael, thanks for joining us. Got a whole crew in today. Um, so it's been a little while since we've even streamed or posted anything, and I apologize for that. I had some unexpected delays, and the last 4 or 5 days have been very busy for me, and Joey's been swamped with various COVID related concerns, so we had to go a little quiet there for a minute. But I got a whole bunch of comics from this and last week to review, and we're going to start things off with last week's Batman book. Now, I came into the Joker War pretty ambivalent. I questioned the need for another Joker story this soon into a new Batman creator's run, especially because I really didn't see a lot of innovation in it, and it just seemed like a story similar to the kind of things Scott Snyder would have done back in the day of New 52, or even something comparable to Tom King or another Batman writer of this era over in Detective Comics. So I don't say that to be overly insulting to James Tynion IV, the writer of this series and the current writer of Batman, but I do have issues with this book and kind of the Batman series as it's going in general. I find it's a challenge for me to stay engaged with it in spite of some pretty expertly done artwork. The big question here for me is, are we doing anything new with this story? And for a hot minute, it felt like we were. With the Joker so thoroughly knowledgeable about Batman's life and having been able to take over Wayne Enterprises, it did feel kind of different. And we're buoyed up with something that remains a benefit of this current storyline and gives it significance, I think, that will last beyond this particular story, which is the introduction of characters like Clown Hunter and Punchline in cool moments like this. But overall, while I like a lot of that, this book and it is the penultimate issue in a story. So those issues in particular I find tend to be a little rough and usually are the weakest in any given story arc. And this story definitely does have good moments. Raphael in chat just said Harley Quinn was good in this issue. I really like her, and she's so well drawn. That gets into like Jimenez and Mori and their work, which I just love. They're doing some really cool stuff with the artwork. It just feels like ultimately, as we're getting into the end game here, Joker's plan really wasn't different from any modern Joker plan, aside from just a few little details. I like the new characters, but outside of that, there isn't really anything all that fresh about this story in a way I would have liked. There also isn't a lot of consequences to things. For example, it was pretty cool to have Dickie Boy around, and we reviewed that pretty recently, like I think last week. I quite liked the idea of Dick Grayson, been going through so much brain trauma, like literally lately, and having such an identity crisis that the Joker was able to co-opt that. But we never got to see a totally unhinged Grayson go up against Batman. Not really. It was more of a thing of him against the other Robins, and Batman showed up at the end. And there's some great moments, as the cover would suggest, between Batman and Grayson in this particular issue. But yeah. Manchi Man says the that Joker bat suit looks cool. I'll get into that because that's right at the end of this book in a little bit, but we'll dance around that spoiler for now. But I mean, it's been a week out at this point, and that is the thumbnail. Other sites have been showing that off, so I don't feel too bad about it. That's a cool thing, and I will give this book that as well. But these larger problems I'm talking about remain. There's still what I imagine is going to be a very large book heading our way for Batman number 100. Maybe that'll do something interesting or be something cooler. But overall, I don't think I'd recommend this. There's cooler stuff out there, kind of currently in the comic book market, that we'll be talking about later as I kind of catch up on these streams. And this one felt lackluster, although the more I flip through it, the more the artwork really does appeal to me. And there are cool moments in this story. So let's get into what happens in the book a little bit, and we'll obviously be getting into spoilers with that. We open with the Joker kind of narrating as he travels through the city in a decked out Joker limousine SUV thing. It's fun. There's a little moment with Clown Hunter kind of casually slinging a corpse over a building. And we get into a cool spread that really gets into Jimenez's artwork and Maury's work being really on point because we just get flashes of the chaos that's going on. But I would have liked to have seen that explored. Like, I'm looking at this image and I just noticed there's these bat planes in the background just firing on buildings, blowing things up. That's cool as hell. But it really feels like that's not a huge thing in this story. I don't want to be too down on it. Like, there are so many cool moments of artwork, like what I'm looking at right now in 99. But even in 98, there was this amazing image where Batman's Batman's cape was spread out as he was knocking Punchline out, and it just had a really cool logo of his name across the panel. I loved that. Raphael says, where is Damien? We'll talk about what Damien's up to right now. I think it actually is deliberately written into the story, or like this continuity that he isn't around for a reason. Yeah, he's not here. And we'll get into that when we talk about what Teen Titans has been up to lately. But that feels deliberate. In fact, I will also say Batman 99 does tie into the most recent issue of Nightwing that we reviewed, like I was saying earlier, quite effectively. It's actually pretty cool how well this all ties together, with other books in the world of Batman. And that does give the Joker War a little more weight, but it feels like that also was a lot of build-up towards what ultimately, as we're going to get into, doesn't amount to much. Okay, so the Joker arrives at Ace Chemicals because we're just playing all those greatest hits. Karsten says, hey Arden, will you do a tour of your studio? It's really not much beyond what you guys see. It's just this little corner pretty much of otherwise relatively small apartment, but one day I have plans to do more. But I think we can have fun with that one day, but I'd have to plan it out. Adrian is saying Damien is probably sitting back playing Fortnite. No. Well, I think that's next video we're doing is all about what Damien's up to and why he's not here. But I think that's actually worked out within the Batman department in terms of continuity for once. That in a way that works out quite nicely. For example, in comparison, I don't know where in the world this timeline corresponds to the world of Justice League or Death Metal. And Angel, if you're really curious and want to know right now what happened, Angel the Nomad just commented in chat with the answer. I don't mind. I don't think it's a huge spoiler. It's on the cover of stuff. But I'm going to leave it for now. So if people don't want to know, especially if they're watching after, they would have to physically be looking for it in live chat. So it's a deliberate choice. Although the chat is joking around about Damien playing Fortnite. And I kind of agree with Raphael. I can't see Damien playing Fortnite either. I could see him theoretically playing video games, but that one I feel is just not violent or horrifying enough for Damien. I don't even know if Damien would like video games, because he's so into regular, real-world violence that, like, my instinct was going to be something like Resident Evil. It's like, I don't know. He'd find that boring. My guess is, and then Angel says Damien feels like a Doom player. No, I get the kind of same thing as like, oh, whatever, hordes of demons. Like, I faced that in real life. Maybe Damien would be more in the opposite direction of my instincts. And he'd like Cooking Mama or Animal Crossing or something like that. That I can imagine a lot more easily, especially Animal Crossing. Den Ninja Genko, thanks for joining us in chat. Karsten says, do you think we will get a new Robin? I think there's so many Robin-esque characters out there. It would be insane to create a new Robin character rather than just have a different character returning to that role, or a character who's been Robin but more outside of main continuity. Something along the lines of Oh God, what's her face from The Dark Knight Returns, or one of those characters, uh, like a future version of Robin, or in some alternate canon, bring back Stephanie Brown, something like that. Before I would say like, oh, let's make a new Robin. If we need Batman to have a sidekick, oh, the Ninja Gecko is like Clown Hunter, like yeah, that would be an example. I was also gonna say the Signal, Batwing. There's so many characters. Carrie Kelly is what Angel was saying, and or is the character I was referring to. Thank you, Angel. Yeah, like Carrie Kelly would be cool because they do stuff like that where alternate characters are introduced in the main canon at some point or another. And if I were DC, I'd be like, okay, do it. Why not? You did the like. It's way more questionable to have done it with the Watchmen characters, so why not with Carrie Kelly? She, I feel, has so much more potential to be explored. Um, oh, and that seems to have struck a bit of a chord with chat. So, okay. The Joker arrives at Ace Chemical. Okay, and I do love this scene because I've been critical about this book, but there are moments I really like. And he's talking on the phone with Punchline, and she's like, "Oh, Batman got the better of me and escaped the weird cave garden thing." And Joker's like casually talking about how their plan's going, and they're like sending toxins around the city and like doing this whole plan where people are gonna be exposed to them after being forced to watch this movie in like sorry, I should say not a movie, The Mask of Zorro in theaters, because Joker's doing a whole thing with Batman's origins. I keep moving out of frame. Sorry, hold on a sec. Yeah. Oh, Angel also makes a good point. There is a new Robin, and that would be Jarro from Justice League. And yeah, if you're gonna explore a Robin, that one also you could use development. And Jarro is so damn fun, and also, as Raphael points out, very very powerful. Raphael's saying, didn't know Damien is vegan. I guess someone brought it up. Oh yeah, so Adrian says Damien is vegan, so maybe Minecraft. And then Adrian says, I think Damien's veganism started when he found Bat Cow. I don't know if it was, I think it was Bat Cow, but it's also to do with Damien's love of animals in general. He has a lot of little pets and animals that he's befriended over the years, which I like. I think that's a softer side of his character, and that's why I thought of Animal Crossing. Minecraft would work too, but a more casual game like that, even over, because anything violent is gonna not impress Damien. Even a theoretically impressive game, he's just gonna be like, pedestrian. But something calm and like a bit of an escape for him, that's something Damien has done in the past. Okay, so the Joker finishes up his conversation with Punchline, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not worried. Like, Batman's recovered from his Joker toxin, but everything's going well. I know exactly where Batman is and what he's going to do next. I need to put on my suit." And he pulls out a briefcase. And I knew exactly where we are going from here, like, even though this won't happen for a little while. Batman meets up with, I'm going to say them all because it's a cool scene, the Red Hood, Dick Grayson, the Signal, Orphan, so Cassandra Cain, spoiler, Batgirl, Red Robin, and Harley Quinn. So the whole current Bat family. And Batman has a nice little speech where he kind of admits, like, and I think this is justified. He's been through so much crap over the Tom King run that he went back on his old instincts and didn't reach out to his family when he should have, but now he is. And they put together a big plan. Batwoman and the GCPD are storming Wayne Enterprises, and they're going to stop them from using all those insane vehicles. Because, like, again, that was so cool with the stuff, with the planes shooting into the city. And I do wish we got more of that in general. Maybe there is, I haven't read all the Joker War tie-ins. Maybe there is more of that out there. But I wish we got a little more of that in the main story just the same. He sends the rest of the family to go stop people from dying horribly in these theaters. And Batman's going to take on the Joker himself. Like, go into Ace Chemical. They... Harley Quinn calls Tim Drake. I wanted to make sure I got it right. Just because I didn't want to get my Robins mixed up, even though they are dressed differently. Duck Boy, which I enjoyed, and Harley wants to go with because she wants to kill the Joker. Batman says, "Oh, it's not going to happen," and I just want to get this timeline right. Okay, yeah, but they Nightwing kind of agrees, and Batman's like, "Oh, hey, before I go," he pulls out from his suit. It's a cute moment. Nightwing's costume. Um, Sorry, I'm just catching up on chat. Adrian's saying, I think Batman without a Robin for a while would be fine. It's certainly happened for extended periods of time before. And lots of Batman stories, even when there's an active Robin, don't have a Robin. And I wouldn't read too much into the permanence of Damian Wayne, as it were, or his current status. I don't, nothing lasts forever in comics. um, Angel is saying, am I the only person who thinks it odd that J.J. Abrams' Spider-Man new number released almost a year apart from the first number? I honestly haven't been paying attention to any of that since like the first issue because it's J.J. Abrams and I don't really care. But maybe I'll look into that and then I can have an answer for your question there. Um, I got what you're saying, Angel. I think I said it wrong too, but just the same. Raphael says Harley is the MVP of this arc. I would say without question. It's really cool to see her as part of like a pseudo part of the Bat family. They've been flirting with that idea for like almost 2 decades now, but I always support them moving that forward a little bit because we've been kind of in the phase of Harley Quinn wanting to be a superhero but not quite breaking in for a very long time. And that's a good example of where the story has a bit more weight, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. Anyways, Batman hands Dick his old suit. When we were reviewing the most recent Nightwing issue, someone asked me in chat if I thought Nightwing was keeping his new outfit, and I thought they should, and he could, because why not for change? But this issue very much confirms that's not the case, and that's okay, because it's a nice moment between Bruce and Dick Grayson. I wish we got more of a confrontation between them, though, across this story arc, which didn't happen in either of the stories, I don't think. Unless I'm wildly mistaken and missed something in Nightwing. But, yeah, whatever. Meanwhile, we get a glimpse of Catwoman, Riddler, and the Penguin having escaped the Penguin's own safe house to go rob a bank or something. We'll talk more about that later. And then we get another beautiful piece of artwork where an entire page is just dedicated to Batman arriving at Ace Chemicals. And it looks beautiful. Once again, it's just an excellently drawn image of Batman, but you look at his shadow and it's got his logo on the ground as he's landing there, and the lights from Ace Chemicals, which is still fully lit and stuff, is giving him the shadow. That mixed with the coloring just looks wonderful, and that's where Mori really comes into play. And even little details like the Joker's car is pulled up to it, but the driver's clearly dead and had been shot there as part of Joker's clear scorched earth mentality when it comes to whatever he's planned at Ace Chemicals, which we saw earlier when he was just casually talking to Punchline and shooting people in the factory. That's the Joker at my favorite. One of my favorite moments in Batman history. We're going to get sidelined just for a hot second. I think it's during, I want to say either War Games or No Man's Land. I'm not sure which one. But I think it's No Man's Land because the Joker's with the Scarecrow and they're just going around killing people. And there's one moment where the Joker's just kind of walking into like a bank or someplace with security, and without even looking, he just pulls out a machine gun and shoots the guards and just walking right by. Like they're at the side and he does that and he's just looking dead ahead. Doesn't pay him any mind, doesn't take any joy in it, just does it without killing. W.D. Kane says Nightfall. If that's true, that's weird because I just read Nightfall. I think you're right though. Okay, well, whatever. I'm getting my Batman stories mixed up. But it's just a little moment in a larger... Oh, you're right. It is Nightfall. With the whole Batman being slowly broken down with all the villains getting out. That was part of the Joker and Scarecrow's escape plan. For some reason, I pictured that in the context of a ruined Gotham. But W.D. Kane is 100% right. Okay. Okay, so many questions. Well, I'll deal with them in a second. We're almost done the story. Okay, so Batman's heading towards there. We get another shot basically spinning around and showing Batman walking towards it past the car. again, just really excellent artwork that's setting this scene. And it's a good scene to take a little bit of time for us to breathe and get to this moment. Because Harley takes a shot at Batman and says, "No, we're killing the Joker. Like, we're this insanity of like locking him away and going into this cycle is not working." And she has a very sincere conversation with Batman about this and says, like, this story needs to change, it needs an ending. And Batman doesn't even say anything in reply to that, because I think she has a point. And he, in his silence, recognizes that. Okay. Yeah, let me just plow through this last little bit. Batman enters Ace Chemicals and finds the Joker has dug up Alfred and used the weird chemical thing to turn him into a weird zombie thing. Batman's like, "No, this isn't real." And then we get that final page that's been flashing by during this whole review of the Joker in that crazy futuristic suit that I thought Alfred designed. I'm starting to think the Joker built it and snuck it in to like their hard drive, and then Lucius saw it, thought Bruce designed it and made it. I'm not sure, but that was the impression I got from this moment. And the Joker points a gun at Batman, and I have to assume that's the gun that killed Bruce's parents. Right? um, if we've learned anything from this story arc so far, it's that. So that is the end of Batman 99. Okay, let me try and keep up with chat as best I can. WD Kane says, "Harley being an official member of the Bat family bugs me so much. Does she know Bruce's identity?" As I said in this review, and I think Raphael was saying in chat, I don't believe Harley is an official member of the Bat family. She's she's an loose associate on the level of Clayface or other characters like that. And I think even if you were to go to the Wikipedia page listing Bat family members, she would kind of, well, maybe they're a little weird. They count a lot of characters that I don't think would count as official members. And I don't believe Harley is an official member in any capacity. I don't think she knows that about Batman and Bruce Wayne. I could be wrong. It's heavily implied the Harley Quinn in the DCEU knows that for some reason. And maybe in other versions she does. I don't think she does here. It's a pretty closely guarded secret, supposedly, in the world of Batman, and a lot of characters do know as it is. I think Harley is a very pseudo member as it stands, and I'm okay with that as of now. She hasn't really earned anything beyond that. And that's really shown in this story, where she has a good point, but she's clearly an outsider compared to everyone else. But it's cool having her around. Raphael says she was the MVP of the story. I agree. The way she saved Batman was cool and works against the traditional narrative of Batman always being prepared and always being able to do all these things. She was a real linchpin in this story, and it feels earned. It feels like it was almost overdue in some ways for her character to move so far beyond the Joker. She now easily and obviously stands in opposition to him. And her differences with Punchline were well explored to that effect. It's cool having a character like Punchline around so that Harley doesn't have to ever really fall back on that role of being a lackey or sidekick or whatever of Joker. Okay. I'm just keeping up with chat as best I can, guys. Angel the Nomad says, the delay... I don't know what that means. I guess saying I missed something. Angel's saying, I love the new artist in charge of the title. Yes, I think both Jimenez... Sorry, let me give their full names. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Jorge Jimenez is what I want to call him, is the artist, and Tomeo More is the colorist. They're so good. I really don't want to downplay the role of Maury's coloring in this book. I think he does such a great job with contrast, with the cool teal look of Joker's new suit. So many things can be attributed to his design. The way the Joker glasses green stands out like against those weird zombie things, which by the way I hate as an idea, but I've talked about that before. But that's not the artist's fault. And Jimenez, who has these amazing spreads showing off cool Batman imagery and stuff. So many pages of the Joker War, in spite of its flaws or whatever, I would love to have as a poster. That spread I was talking about with the Batman logo, several pages across this book, or like I guess panels and stuff, but various artwork from here would make excellent posters, and even some of these covers that we see going by, uh, all of which are great. I really like that alternate one with Clown Hunter, but the main one with Dick and Bruce standing side by side against an army of clowns, even though that does not reflect the book at all, is a cool looking image. I have missed a great deal of chat here, but hey, if you really want me to read your stuff, either you can always repeat yourself, or that's what Super Chat's for. So Adrian's saying No Man's Land has a great audiobook version. DC has done quite a few of those. I once erroneously said that Marvel had started doing those with some Stitcher Premium stuff, but DC has a bit of a track record with them, and there's quite a few out there. I've never personally checked them out myself, so I can't speak to that. WD Kane says, I loved. Nope, lost it. Kirsten Logan says, wait, Alfred dead. Yes. That happened last year as part of Tom King's run with Bane. If you want to know more, I guess you can check out those books, or we can cover that some other time. But that's actually a huge part of the Joker War, and why, in theory, this story should be different. Although in practice, Alfred really hasn't been gone from this story, and I think has appeared in every issue in some form or another. So, fair to that. W.D. Kane says, the Joker's 80th anniversary showed Punchline was just an angry college student mad at how the world is. I liked that story. That was my first taste of Punchline, and I thought it showcased how she was different from Harley Quinn. I feel where Harley has always felt, or yeah, Harley has always been a bit of a victim in my eyes of the Joker. I would never really say that about Punchline, who feels as though she's had a lot more agency in all of this, who feels like she's got less illusions about the Joker, although she does very much have certain illusions about the Joker. And I believe she's just a little bit more like ruthless and such, and doesn't have those redemptive sides of Harley Quinn, which I like. I think she's an interesting villain that I would like to see more of in the future. But maybe that's just me. And Clown Hunter's cool too. That's like the strongest selling point of the Joker War, in my opinion, so far. Adrian says, I don't know if this has ever happened or if it exists in the comics, but shoving Joker into Superman's negative zone sounds better. That or cryosleep. Okay. So what he's saying there is like, get him out of the story and stop writers from using him for a while. I don't think there's a way you can ever truly force a writer from using a character. It's been tried a lot before, killing stuff off and doing all that stuff, but it's so easy to bring things back, to walk back plot points, or just to ignore them entirely, that it never really works. What does work is when a company or a creative department, like the Batman line, decides as a whole to stop relying on a character as much for a certain period of time. The most recent example of that I can think of, and it barely even works, but it has been done before more successfully in the past, is, like something like Superior Spider-Man. They did a good job at really keeping Peter Parker out of the picture for a huge chunk of that time. But I was more of thinking Wolverine. Wolverine for a while was appearing in like every Marvel book, and it feels like when they were killing him off, they were sort of, I guess they were killing him off, but I think the bigger idea was behind the scenes to not rely on this character as much and to sort of push something like Laura Kinney, who is different. I feel like ultimately screwed that up in the form of Old Man Logan, but there is a way to take a break. It just seems like eventually a new writer comes along and wants to tell a Joker story, even perhaps just out of ignorance of what's been told before, or in spite of, or in an attempt to add something to it, or to make their mark, or just because the Joker gets attention. This stream is a little bit higher than usual, I think, because the Joker gets attention. So I think the better line is finding ways to tell a new Joker story. I'm just not sure this particular storyline quite achieved that, even if it showed it as possible. Because on paper, and I realize the irony in saying that about a paperback book, but like if like we're talking about just the text of the story here, the Joker becoming rich, taking over Wayne Enterprises, and gaining that level of resources and abilities is something that we haven't seen before and is pretty cool of an idea. It does is kind of draw like the Joker's been more powerful in the past in stories like Emperor Joker, so it does it's shaky, but that could be done. But like I said in kind of my spoiler-free part of this review, I don't think the like this story really fully exploited that. If you get what I'm saying, like it didn't really explore that idea. And I was talking about the planes earlier. Like we didn't really get to see insane criminals flying around bat planes. That should be devastating. And I personally like people were like, "Whoa, well, where's Superman?" And all this. Superman is dealing with Simnar or whatever he was dealing with in the previous story. They all have their own solo issues and stories to deal with. So what I mean exploring it more is Batman really let's look at what Batman did in the Joker War story. He ran around, he tried to access one of his old caves, or like hideaways, whatever you want to call it, in Wayne Enterprises, got ambushed, got heavily dosed with Joker gas, had a horrible confrontation in the Monarch Theater, was saved by Harley Quinn, spent an entire issue hallucinating, and recovered from it in a cool moment. Took out the Joker's key henchman for like a second, and she's back in the next book. And then rallied the troops to go face the Joker. That ain't much of anything in terms of stuff like cool things Batman actually got to do like across this book. Really didn't get a lot of cool moments, and I wish we did get that. Angel's saying, "How is Batman affording his equipment currently? He's been destroying it and getting a new one throughout this arc. He's really, I think, for one thing, they talk about it early on in this particular story arc. He's planted, tech and hideaway stuff everywhere. Oh, I don't know where he got the Nightwing suit, for example. That is a little thin, but I assume it's just part of like what either he's been carrying on him and like shell company, anything he managed to hide away. But he really is just using the last scraps of his stuff. I do think, Angel, you have a good point there of what I was just saying, like in a larger aspect of like, yeah, it should be more of an uphill battle because Batman doesn't have these resources. So I hate to say it, but like maybe prolonging this story or something. I actually don't think that's true. Not spending an issue with Batman drugged out, not spending so much time with the Joker talking about how big his plan is, rather than showing how big his plan is. We could have gotten this exploration if even in these 5 issues we've gotten so far, if they were better structured and paced out. And that's a huge fault on Tinian the Force part, because I've read a lot of Tinian's books at this point. He's not normally like that. It's really disappointing to see. Um, Raphael says, "How much is Batman going to take from the Joker? I think Batman needs the Joker to keep him in line." Um, and WD Kane this time. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna deal with one thing at a time. Raphael, I think you have a good point there that I don't believe the comics have really explored, but I've certainly felt in the past that the Joker kind of keeps Batman on his toes, and he even often will show up in moments like this where Batman's rebuilding Gotham City. He has a vision of doing things better or different or something like that. And the Joker comes along to just sort of kind of stomp those dreams out. Uh, I think there's something to that. Um, because we hear a lot about how much the Joker needs Batman. But I think there is something to what Raphael's saying about like I think the Batman needs Joker. I don't believe this story's gonna end with him killing the Joker, but I also don't know where the story is ending or where it's going, and that is a huge thing to complement this story. I called every moment up to Batman 100. Uh, at least a few issues ago. I see some people have to go. Thanks for joining me in chat. I think I missed Karsten, but WD Kane, you made some great points and helped out at one point, so that's great. But, what was I saying? I think around issue 97 or 98, I said, no, it had to have been 97 or even 96. So it's like, okay, Batman's been drugged out and he just got rescued by Harley Quinn. So she's going to take him to the thing. We're going to spend a whole issue with Batman hallucinating and dealing with Alfred's death and stuff. And then 99 is going to be setting up the finale. And that's exactly, like, to the T what happened so far. I'm not giving myself a pat on the back. It was just super predictable. But I left it at that, where it's just like, and then issue number 100 is just going to do some big stuff and it's all going to wrap up quickly. That is 100% what's going to happen. But to be fair, I've never really known what that big stuff is going to be. And I am kind of curious about what Batman 100 is going to do. Carson was saying, I thought Batman would be the last one to be infected and deceased. I don't think that's where the story arc's going overall. Oh, I kind of get what you're saying, but I don't think everyone's ultimately going to get infected and deceased, although I might be an issue or two behind. Well, no, because we've been reviewing the print version, and that's the more recent one in terms of continuity. I'm behind on At World's End, the digital book, but that one kind of takes place during the first DC story. I like how Batman hasn't been the immortal tank that he used to be written in like the 2000s and early 2010s. It seems like the last couple of years or so, more and more stories are humanizing Batman and making him weaker, which after Tom King in particular really feels fresh. Because Tom King had a bad habit of just throwing so much stuff at Batman that it became impossible how much he could endure, even with all that idea of him being at least somewhat of a metahuman at this point. This story has done a great job at making Batman pretty human. He needs help and relies on his family. Harley saves his life and makes some pretty good points that, like, don't paint Batman's character in the best way overall, and I think that's deserved. So, it's it's an interesting point you have there. WD, but I think and like DC's is part of that, where it's like, no, Batman died, they all died, and he wasn't like the last one out or anything like that. Deceased in terms of how that virus was spread was very luck of the draw, and Batman wasn't lucky. WD King was saying, isn't there a Lazarus pit beneath the Batcave? Joker used it at Endgame. Is it beneath the Batcave? I guess so, because that's where he falls in death of the family. I know it's beneath Gotham City, I just am not sure if it's beneath the Batcave. But yes, I don't believe it's a Lazarus pit, though. I believe it's a source, or was a source, of Dionysium, the metal stuff that leads to the Dark Multiverse. But that kind of was heavily implied to make the Joker immortal. So even if, and I don't know if they're going there, but I genuinely don't, I'm not sure, but even if the Joker dies in Batman 100, it's all baked in for him to be able to return, and kind of true for Batman still. They're both potentially immortal at this point, which is an interesting idea. But one, I don't think we should push too hard in terms of like within the story or writing. I think that's just an interesting possibility and gives a little bit of security blanket about these characters never truly necessarily being gone, which I think is for the best. Adrian says, I listened to the Sandman audiobook. It has Neil Gaiman narrating and it has a full cast doing voices. It's great. I think I was eyeing that at my library the other day and I didn't end up taking it out. I think I want to read the books again first, but I thought that was cool. W.D. Kane says, what do you think of Clown Hunter? I just can't see him as a threat with the tie-in baseball bat. Oh, I like it. It makes me think that Clown Hunter is just some random kid at some private school. So he's got like the school uniform. or like the tattered remnants of it. And he's just running around murdering clowns. I like the way the Joker conceptualized him in one of the books, where he talks about how he's very different than the sort of vigilantes that rose up under Batman's Gotham City. I like the idea of him being the kind of vigilante that rises up in Joker's Gotham, that's just willing to kill indiscriminately, and I'm very curious where that's going. Maybe he's gonna kill the Joker. Like Carly said, this story needs a different ending, but that's not an ending though, is it? And like I was saying, I don't really think the Joker can die. And yeah, well, I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't think the Joker can really die, because even if that stuff I was saying about the metal isn't true, it was all just hinted at anyways. We know he'll come back eventually. So yeah. Um, I'm getting the impression that W.D. Kane really doesn't like this story as much as me, and I'm pretty ambivalent about it. So there you go. But if you're enjoying this, that's great. I've certainly enjoyed pockets of it, but overall, I'm less enthusiastic. Adrian says, in the Flash comic, they did a great job fixing the Joker type problem. I don't know what you're referring to, so I'm curious what that's talking about. But I do have to say I kind of lost interest in the Flash books, although I hear there's a new creative team going on with the Flash, and I'm very curious to check that out now, because I do love me some good Flash stories. I just kind of lost me after 750, personally. Um, Angel is saying, I wish they'd keep the Batman Who Laughs. I'm such a fan. Oh, I think he's a permanent addition to Batman's Rogues Gallery at this point. I definitely think that character is going to get a bit of a break for a while, perhaps for a good long while, but I wouldn't count him out forever. They even brought back all the cool like whatever they're the Dark Knights from the original Metal story for Death Metal, and yes, the Batman Who Laughs is very much transformed and changed, but I don't think that precludes him from returning in some form or another one day. I definitely think Snyder will be done with him, and I absolutely believe he's not going to be a permanent fixture anytime soon or anything like that. I just have a hard time believing, oh, he's gone forever and we'll never see that villain again, because he's pretty cool. And, you know, if DC's smart, they'll follow up on some of the cool death metal material that's been introduced. I would love to see some of those characters become like a one-off villain in some other story arc for different characters just showing up. Let's. I was gonna say the Flash go up against the Red Death or something like that, but let's have like Green Lantern go up against a Batman version of the Flash that's an evil villain. That would be cool. Something along those lines would be great, and the kind of thing I think can be followed up on with characters like that going forward. We ain't talking about death metal right now. um, W.D. Kane says, did you like any of the Joker War tie-ins? Nightwings was pretty good as Punchlines number 2. I'm guessing you mean... I haven't read any of the Punchline tie-ins, but we did review the Nightwing tie-in, and I really liked that. Well, we read the last of the Nightwing tie-ins, but I thought it was great, and I thought that whole angle was really well done. Like I said, I wish it was pulled into the main story a little bit, or involved Batman a little more, because him specifically would have been interesting in that story. That's my only disappointing aspect of it, but I thought it was strong, and I thought it really took a writer like Dan Jurgens to nail Robin becoming Dickie Boy, and it being both hilarious and a fun and interesting story overall for Dick Grayson's character. That was cool. I really liked it. Angel saying, my favorite Batman is the more human one, in reference to what I was talking about earlier. Angel was saying, there was a Lazarus pit in the cave pre-New 52. I didn't know that. The only thing about that is it's no longer necessarily true. Oh, wait, I did know that. I'm thinking about books where I've seen that. Unless I'm mistaken from like Drake era. Um, that might be true, even based on some stuff that happened with death metal. There's a lot of like lore around Wayne Manor and all this stuff under and around it. So I'm not entirely sure at this point. You might be like, you're certainly right pre New 52. You might be, there might still be the case that there's also a Lazarus pit in around there. Because I think the Dionysium pit is in Gotham itself. Um, but I could be wrong. Um, Adrian was saying maybe Clown Hunter could be the Joker henchman who was small and abandoned. I honestly think he's just some kid. And like literally, like I said, just some kid that goes to some prep school or something. And in the fall of Gotham City, maybe he watched his classmates die or something. And he just rose up and started to kill clowns and became a clown hunter and just started using his baseball bat. I could be wrong. I'm looking at that cover, which has a little more detail on him, and he might just be some random, like, street kid criminal. He's got that weird mohawk thing going on. But the impression I got was, yeah, like he just took the tattered remains of a school uniform or something and started doing it. The more I'm looking, he does kind of have a bit of a biker look, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm curious. We really don't know a lot about Clown Hunter so far. And given how late we are into the Joker War, I assume this is a character that will be followed up on more in the future, which is fascinating. We'll have to see where all that goes. I assume he's got some role to play in Batman number 100, though. When we get there, we'll have to talk about that. Adrian's saying I got an echo. That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes after a while when I'm streaming. I think I just have to reset the mic, and usually that works. I I hopefully didn't blow your eardrums out fixing that there. Last time it didn't create that feedback, so I will have to adjust accordingly. Next time I can avoid that, so you guys won't hear it. Might have just mostly been on my end. Anyhow, next up, I've been dancing around it because you guys kept wanting to talk about it like in chat, but we got like two whole books to talk about when we talk about it. We're going to talk a little bit about where Robin's at in Teen Titans number 45 and Teen Titans Annual number 2, which I only have a digital copy of, but whatever. Adrian says, no, you went silent during that. Okay, good, because I unplugged the mic and just plugged it back in. That's what fixed it last time. My guess is it fixed it this time as well. It seems like if we stream after a certain point, I just get a little bit of an echoey feedback on the mic. I don't know if that can be avoided. My guess is it just has to do with, like, it's been a while since I streamed, so everything's a little creaky and the mic wasn't, running in a while. I heard something. Raphael says, will you be doing X-Men? Yes. We'll be talking about a couple of X-Men books that we're just going to frame around X of Swords mostly. Raphael's saying it's finally getting good again. Well, you have to remember there's a bit of delay between chat and me talking, so I assume it got fixed, or maybe it didn't. I don't know. Anyways, we're pretty much done here anyhow, I think. What time is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we're about done for today. I just kind of got settled in from all the stuff I had to do. There's just a little bit of a repair work that needs to be done around here. But yes, we got. I like to kind of surprise you guys a little bit with them, so I don't want to reveal them all at once. But we got a few DC books to talk about. The indie book, because someone asked us to talk a little bit more about Image, so we are. We're going to talk a little bit about Immortal Hulk after that. Then we're going to get into X of Swords, followed by a few more books that I got this week that all look pretty fun that I haven't read yet. Raphael was saying the X-Men books are getting good again. The audio's fine. I guess after I did the unplug thing, Adrian says, "Have a good day, everyone. Be safe." Yes, you too. Uh, things are in a rough spot in Canada at the moment in terms of all that business. But yes, I will say that the X-Men comics are certainly showing some interesting colors. We have a lot to talk about for that, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us in stream. It was a nice busy stream today, which is always great. I am sorry if I missed some chats. We are increasingly getting to the point where like chat's just going. So I think we're gonna have to build in some more infrastructure for. I was gonna say moderating it, but that's not the right word. But like giving people a better opportunity to be more heard. So I will look into that a bit. But until then, thanks again, everyone. That was fun. It was unfortunate I couldn't do it for like the last few days, and I missed it. So tomorrow we're gonna do some more streams for sure. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time here on Comic Island.